I'm going on a date with a coworker, my wife said calmly after 18 years together. I warned her, if you walk out that door, everything will change. She ignored me and left. What followed shattered her completely in ways she never saw coming. I'm a conservation architect. I restore old theaters and historic buildings, bringing dead spaces back to life. Funny how I couldn't see my own marriage needed more than restoration, it needed a complete teardown. My name's Franklin. Been married to Fanny for 18 years. 2 kids, our son just turned 15, daughter's 13. We built what looked like a solid life in our mid-sized city. I specialized in municipal landmarks and historic theaters. She curated contemporary exhibitions at the City Museum. Different worlds, but they worked together. Or I thought they did. The night everything changed started like any other Thursday. I was reviewing blueprints for the Paramount Theater restoration, a 1920s venue I'd been fighting to save for 2 years. Kids were upstairs doing homework. Fanny was in the kitchen, making herself tea. I'm going on a date with a coworker, she said. The words hit the air like she just mentioned picking up milk. No build-up. No warning. Just 5 words that detonated 18 years. I looked up from my blueprints. She stood there in a black dress I'd never seen before, holding her mug with both hands. Calm. Collected. Like she'd practiced this moment. What did you just say? I said I'm going on a date. With Sawyer. He does installation work for the museum. Freelance scenographer. She took a sip of tea. I wanted to be honest with you. Honest. After 18 years, 2 kids, and a mortgage, her version of honesty was announcing she was heading out to date another man like she was going to yoga class. You're joking. I'm not. She set down her mug. I've been unhappy, Franklin. We both know this hasn't been working. We both know? When did we discuss this? When did we try counseling? When did you mention being unhappy before putting on a dress to meet another man? I don't need your permission. The casualness of it. The absolute dismissal of everything we'd built. Our son was upstairs studying for his chemistry test. Our daughter was probably on FaceTime with her friends. And their mother was standing in our kitchen, announcing the end of our family like she was reading a grocery list. I stood up slowly. Fanny, if you walk out that door, everything will change. Everything. Think about what you're doing. She smiled. Not cruel, not sad. Just dismissive. Like I was a docent at her museum explaining something she already knew. I already have. She picked up her purse, designer, one I'd bought her for Christmas, and walked past me. Her heels clicked on our hardwood floors, the ones we'd chosen together when we bought this place 10 years ago. The front door opened, closed. Her car started in the driveway. She was gone. I stood there for maybe 30 seconds, listening to the house. The dishwasher humming. My son's music from upstairs. The suburban symphony of a Thursday night, playing on while my marriage flatlined in the kitchen. Then I moved. Not in anger. Not in panic. I moved with the same precision I use when I survey a building that's about to collapse. Document everything. Secure the structure. Protect what can be saved. First, I grabbed my laptop and logged into our shared accounts. Banking, credit cards, phone records. Started screenshots, creating folders. The printer hummed to life as I ran transaction histories for the last 6 months. Her phone was still synced to our shared cloud. I could see her location, already at a restaurant downtown. Benedetto's. We went there for our anniversary 2 years ago. I pulled up her museum email. She'd been sloppy, keeping it logged in on our shared desktop. Her official correspondence, nothing unusual. But there was a drafts folder with over 40 unsent messages. All addressed to no one. All dated over the last 4 months. My hands were steady as I opened the first one. Today was hard. Franklin doesn't see me anymore. He sees the wife, the mother, the museum curator. But not me. Sawyer asked about the new installation plans and actually listened to my ideas. Really listened. It's been so long since someone looked at me like I matter. The draft was from 4 months ago. 4 months of her writing these diary entries in her email drafts, thinking she was clever, thinking I'd never look. I opened another from 6 weeks ago. The lawyers say I should establish residence first. Open my own accounts. Document my contributions to household expenses. Sawyer thinks I should just leave, but I need to be smart about this. The kids deserve stability. I deserve freedom. Lawyers. Plural. Another from 3 weeks ago. The lawyers say I should establish residence first. Open my own accounts. Document my contributions to household expenses. Sawyer thinks I should just leave, but I need to be smart about this. The kids deserve stability. I deserve freedom. Lawyers. Plural. Another from 3 weeks ago. Found a perfect apartment near Riverside. 2 bedrooms, the kids could stay on weekends. Sawyer loves the light in the living room. We could host his artist friends there. Finally have the life I want, not the life I settled for. Our daughter came downstairs. Dad, where's Mom? She had to go to a work thing, I said, minimizing the screen. You finish your algebra? Yeah. Can you check problem 12? I helped her with her homework, my phone recording every email draft as I scrolled through them behind her textbook. 18 years of marriage, and I was helping our daughter solve for X while documenting her mother's exit strategy. Dad, you okay? You seem weird. Just thinking about the Paramount project. Complex structural issues. She hugged me goodnight. Went back upstairs. I returned to the drafts. The most recent one was from yesterday. Tomorrow I tell him. Sawyer made reservations at Benedetto's to celebrate after. By this weekend, I'll be free. The museum gala is next month, I can finally bring who I want, not who I'm obligated to bring. Franklin will be fine. He has his buildings and his blueprints. He probably won't even notice I'm really gone until the divorce papers arrive. Won't even notice. I pulled up our credit card statements. There they were, charges I'd overlooked. Lunches that ran too long. Museum vendor meetings at hotels. A charge at a lingerie store from last month I'd assumed was for my birthday. My birthday had passed without any lingerie appearance. Her car was still at Benedetto's according to her phone location. I had time. I opened our home security app, downloaded the last 6 months of footage. Started burning everything to external drives. Opened new bank accounts in my name only. Called my brother, an attorney specializing in family law. Franklin? It's 10:30, what's wrong? I need you to recommend the best divorce attorney in the state. Not you. Someone with no connection to our family. What happened? Fanny's on a date right now. With a coworker. She announced it and left. I'm looking at 4 months of email drafts planning her exit. She's already seen lawyers. Silence. Then, document everything. Touch nothing in anger. Protect the kids' assets first. I'll text you 3 names. Call them tonight, leave messages. First one to call back gets retained. Franklin, I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm handling it. I hung up and kept working. Downloaded every financial record. Every email. Every text. Set up cloud backups of everything. Changed passwords on my personal accounts. Documented the location of every asset. Our son came downstairs. Dad, Mom's not answering her phone. I needed to ask about the permission slip for tomorrow. I'll handle it. What's it for? Field trip to the science center. I signed it. He lingered. 15 years old, not stupid. Everything okay? Everything's fine. Get some sleep. He went upstairs. I continued my archaeological dig through the death of my marriage. At 11:47 p.m., her car started moving. Not toward home. Toward an address I didn't recognize. I looked it up. An apartment complex near Riverside. The same one from her draft. I sat in my kitchen, surrounded by printed emails, bank statements, and legal notes. The house felt different already. Like when you notice a crack in a foundation, once you see it, you can't unsee it. The whole structure looks fragile. My phone buzzed. A text from Fanny, staying at a friend's tonight. We'll talk tomorrow. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened her draft folder again. Scrolled to the very first entry, from 4 months ago. But there was something older beneath it. A draft from 3 years ago. How had I missed it earlier? I clicked it open. The first time was a mistake. Convention in Austin. Too much wine. He meant nothing. Franklin can never know. I'll be better. I'll be the wife he deserves. The mother my children need. I'll delete this tomorrow. She never deleted it. Austin. 3 years ago. The museum convention she'd attended while I stayed home with the kids who had the flu. She'd come back talking about new exhibition techniques, energized about her work. I'd been happy for her. I kept scrolling. There were more drafts from that period. Details about her first affair. Someone named. No. I couldn't process that yet. But one thing was clear, tonight wasn't her first betrayal. It was just the first one she'd announced. My hand stayed steady as I read through 3-year-old secrets. The Austin affair. Some conference speaker named Dimitri. 5 days of sneaking around while I managed 2 sick kids and sent her supportive texts about her presentation, but I couldn't get lost in old betrayals. I had current ones to map. I closed the laptop and made a decision. If she'd been planning this for months, I had catching up to do. Sleep could wait. The kids were safe upstairs. I had work to do. First, I needed real evidence. Not just emails and feelings. I pulled up our bank statements again, this time going back 6 months with forensic attention. Every transaction got scrutinized. There it was. A new account opened 3 months ago at a different bank. Small transfers, $200 here, $300 there. Listed as personal expenses in our budget spreadsheet. She'd been bleeding money from our joint account into her escape fund. I checked the museum's public financial records, all available online, thanks to city transparency laws. Cross-referenced dates when Sawyer's company invoiced for installation work against her calendar. The pattern emerged like a blueprint under tracing paper. Every major installation in the last 6 months had Sawyer's name on it. The contemporary sculpture exhibit in March, $15,000. The interactive digital gallery in May, $22,000. The upcoming autumn showcase, $35,000 already approved, work hadn't even started. Those numbers were high. Way too high for the scope described. I knew the industry standards. My restoration work often included gallery spaces. A typical installation job like the March exhibit should have run $8,000 maximum. The digital gallery? Maybe $12,000 with premium equipment rental. She was approving inflated invoices. Sawyer was getting paid double, maybe triple the going rate. I dug deeper into the museum's expense reports. Fanny had access to discretionary funds for exhibition development. Dinners with artists. Research trips. Vendor meetings. All legitimate on paper. But when I matched the dates and locations against her phone's location history, the story changed. March 15th, vendor dinner with technical consultant, $340 at Carmen's. Her phone showed her at Carmen's, but from 7 p.m. to midnight. No vendor stays for a 5-hour dinner. April 3rd, site visit to comparative installation, $180 in mileage and tickets. The location? A resort town 2 hours away. On a Saturday. April 22nd, technical planning session, $500 for a hotel conference room rental. The hotel? The Fairmont downtown. Her phone spent 6 hours there. The meeting was supposedly from 2 to 4 p.m. Every meeting with Sawyer came with expenses. All approved by her, reimbursed by the museum. They weren't just having an affair. They were making the city pay for it. I photographed everything. Created spreadsheets. Built a timeline that would make any prosecutor weep with joy. By 3 a.m., I'd found $47,000 in questionable expenses over 6 months. That wasn't including the inflated invoices to Sawyer's company. This wasn't just an affair. It was fraud. My phone buzzed. Fanny again, I'll pick up some clothes tomorrow while you're at work. We need to talk about arrangements. Arrangements. Like I was a furniture delivery she needed to reschedule. I texted back, the kids have school. Come after 9 a.m. Let her think I was being accommodating. I needed time to prepare. I went to my home office and opened the safe. Marriage certificate. Birth certificates. Social security cards. Insurance policies. Everything important went into a bag. Then I drove to my office downtown and locked it all in the secure storage we used for historic building documentation. Back home by 5 a.m. The kids would be up in 2 hours. I showered, made coffee, and opened my laptop to research state divorce laws. In our state, infidelity didn't affect asset division much. But financial fraud? Misuse of marital assets? That changed everything. And if she'd been stealing from her employer to fund her affair, that was criminal. My son came down at 7, earlier than usual. Mom didn't come home, he said. Not a question. No. He poured cereal. Becca's parents are getting divorced. She says her mom acted weird for months before. Mom's been weird since January. January? Kid was more observant than I'd given him credit for. What kind of weird? New clothes. Always on her phone. Stopped asking about my games. Stopped caring about Molly's dance recitals. Molly, our daughter. And she's been mean to you. Mean? Like nothing you do is right. You brought her flowers last month and she rolled her eyes. Said they were the wrong color. I remembered those flowers. Yellow roses, because she'd said she loved them on our third date. Apparently, preferences had changed. I'm sorry you noticed that. Are you getting divorced? No point in lying. Probably. He nodded. Kept eating cereal. Can we stay here? I don't want to change schools. You're staying here. My daughter came down, already dressed for school. Where's mom? Work emergency, my son said before I could answer. They exchanged a look. Kids know. They always know. I drove them to school, came back to an empty house, and continued my investigation. Her laptop was still in the bedroom. Password protected, but she'd used the same one for years, our anniversary date. Ironic. Her browser history told more stories. Apartment listings, all viewed in incognito mode, but she'd forgotten to clear the cache. Searches for divorce attorney consultation free. How to separate assets before divorce. Museum jobs Phoenix. Phoenix? I checked Sawyer's social media through a dummy account. His Instagram showed excited about new opportunities in the desert from 2 weeks ago. LinkedIn showed he'd been networking with installation companies in Arizona. They weren't just leaving me. They were leaving the state. I called my brother. Find anything else? She's been defrauding the museum. Approving inflated invoices for her boyfriend's company. Using expense accounts to fund their affair. And they're planning to move to Phoenix. Jesus. When? I pulled up her calendar, synced across our devices. Next month had a note, strategic planning retreat, Phoenix. But the museum's website showed no such event. Within the month. Maybe sooner if tonight pushed their timeline. You need an attorney today. Not tomorrow. Today. The doorbell rang. She's here. I'll call you back. But when I opened the door, it wasn't Fanny. It was Sawyer. 6 foot something of artistic pretension in distressed jeans and a vintage band t-shirt. Carefully messy hair. The kind of guy who thought a leather bracelet was a personality. We need to talk, he said. No, we don't. Look, Franklin, man to man. You're not a man. You're a parasite who's been stealing from the city while sleeping with my wife. That's fraud and embezzlement. So unless you want this conversation to happen with prosecutors, get off my property. His face went white. You don't know what you're talking about. March sculpture installation, billed at 15 grand for 8 grand worth of work. May digital gallery, 22,000 for a 12,000 job. Should I continue? I have spreadsheets. He stepped back. Fanny said you were. What? Oblivious? Focused on my work? Too boring to notice? Try architect who understands invoicing and has friends on the museum board. That last part was a bluff, but he didn't know that. She approved everything. All legitimate expenses. Sure. Tell that to the ethics committee. Or the IRS when they wonder about your unreported income. You did report all that extra income, right? He actually stumbled backing up. This has nothing to do with money. We're in love. Love. Right. That's why you're moving to Phoenix together next month. Because of love. Not because you've stolen enough to start fresh somewhere else. His mouth opened. Closed. How did you? Go. Tell Fanny her boyfriend stopped by. Tell her I know about Phoenix. Tell her I know about all of it. He practically ran to his car, a Tesla, naturally. Probably bought with his inflated invoices. I went back inside and called the attorney my brother had recommended. Got an appointment for 2 p.m. Then I called my assistant and told her to clear my schedule for the week. Family emergency, I said. Anything I can help with? Actually, yes. Pull any documentation we have on industry standard installation costs for gallery and museum work. Last 5 years. And get me contact information for the city's ethics hotline. Franklin, what's going on? Due diligence. Send it to my personal email. I hung up and went back to Fanny's laptop. If they were planning to leave next month, there had to be more concrete evidence. Job applications. Real estate contacts. Moving companies. Found it in her downloads folder. A PDF from 2 days ago. Southwest Airlines. 2 tickets to Phoenix. One way. Dated for next month, October 15th. But that wasn't what made my blood run cold. The passenger names weren't Fanny and Sawyer. They were Fanny and Molly. Our daughter. A second PDF showed another booking. Same flight. Fanny and our son. She wasn't planning to leave and work out custody later. She was planning to take our kids to Phoenix without telling me. Without asking. Without warning. I stared at those tickets, and for the first time since she'd walked out the door, I felt actual rage. Affairs, I could process. Fraud, I could document. But attempting to steal our children? That's when I realized this wasn't going to be a simple divorce. This was going to be war. War requires strategy. I had 2 hours before my attorney appointment and a clear objective: protect my children and dismantle her plan piece by piece. First, I called the kids' schools from my cell phone, keeping my voice steady and professional. "This is Franklin Morrison. I need to update our emergency contact information and travel restrictions for my children immediately. The secretary at my son's high school knew me from years of PTA meetings." "Of course, Mr. Morrison. What changes do you need?" "Remove Fanny Morrison from pickup authorization temporarily. Add my brother, Stephen Morrison. And I need a formal note in their files: no out-of-state travel without written consent from both parents, notarized." "Is everything all right?" "Family situation. I'll bring legal documentation within the week." I made the same call to my daughter's middle school. Then I logged into the parent portals and changed all the password recovery emails to my personal account. Next, the finances. I couldn't drain joint accounts, that would look vindictive in court. But I could protect assets. I drove to our bank. The manager, Gloria, had handled our mortgage refinance 2 years ago. "Franklin. How's the Paramount restoration going?" "Coming along. Gloria, I need to make some account adjustments. Legal protections for the kids' college funds." Her smile faded slightly. "What kind of protections?" "I need to move their 529 plans into an irrevocable education trust. Both kids as beneficiaries. Neither parent can access without dual signatures and court approval." She understood immediately. "I'll need both account holders too. Check the signature cards. I'm the sole custodian on the education accounts. I'd set them up that way when Fanny had shown zero interest in college planning years ago." "Let me pull those up." She typed. "You're correct. We can process this today. The trust documents will take about an hour to prepare." While she worked, I called our credit card companies. Couldn't cancel joint cards yet, but I could lower limits. "I'd like to reduce our credit limit from $30,000 to $5,000 for fraud protection," I told each one. "And please send all transaction alerts to my phone number only." By the time Gloria finished the trust paperwork, I'd effectively put a tourniquet on our financial bleeding. The kids' college money, nearly $200,000, was now untouchable. My phone buzzed. "Fanny, where are you?" "I'm at the house." I ignored it. The attorney's office was downtown, walking distance from the museum. Perfect for my next move. Margaret Cook, no relation to my brother's friend who'd recommended her, looked like she ate opposing counsel for breakfast. Silver hair, sharp suit, eyes that missed nothing. "Your brother filled me in on the basics," she said. "Tell me everything." I laid out the evidence. The affair. The fraud. The Phoenix plan. The plane tickets with the kids' names. She took notes without expression until I showed her the airline reservations. "She bought tickets to take your minor children out of state without your knowledge or consent?" "One-way tickets." "That's attempted parental kidnapping. We file today. Emergency custody order, financial freeze, and mandatory surrender of passports." "She doesn't know I know about Phoenix." "Good. Let's keep it that way until the papers are served. Now, about this fraud." I showed her the expense reports, the inflated invoices, the timeline. "This is criminal. You have an obligation to report it. I want to handle the custody issue first." "We do both simultaneously. I'll file the emergency motions within 2 hours. The financial fraud gives us leverage. No judge will grant custody to a parent facing embezzlement charges." "Where are the children now?" "School." "Pick them up yourself today. Every day until we have a custody order. Document everything. Install security cameras if you haven't already. Change the locks immediately." "That's legal?" "It's your residence. She left voluntarily. You're securing your home. I'll have my process server ready by 5 p.m. Where will she be?" "I don't know. She's not staying at the house." "Find out. We need to serve her today." I left her office with a battle plan and a retainer agreement that would drain half my personal savings. Worth every penny. The museum was 6 blocks away. I'd helped restore their original 1920s facade 5 years ago. Still had friends in facilities management. But I wasn't going to facilities. I was going straight to the top. Leon Rodriguez, Director of Cultural Affairs, was in his office. We'd met at city planning meetings, shared coffee while discussing historic preservation. He thought I was there about the Paramount. Franklin, how's my favorite theater coming along? Leon, I'm not here about the Paramount. I'm here about Fanny. His face shifted. Is she all right? She's been approving fraudulent invoices and embezzling museum funds through expense account abuse. The silence stretched for 10 seconds. Then, you better have proof. I handed him a bound packet. 40 pages of documentation. Invoices, expenses, comparisons to market rates, timeline analysis. Page 12 shows the pattern. Every Sawyer Henley invoice is inflated by 40 to 60% above market rate. Page 23 documents expense reimbursements for supposed vendor meetings that were personal dinners. Page 35 shows hotel conference room rentals that correspond to 6-hour gaps in her location data. He flipped through, his face darkening with each page. How long? 6 months minimum. Total misappropriation around $47,000, not including the inflated invoices, which could be another $30,000. Why are you bringing this to me instead of letting us handle it internally? Because she's my wife. Because I just found out last night. Because she's planning to leave the state with the embezzled funds. And because the museum deserves to know before the divorce filing becomes public record this afternoon. He closed the packet. I need to call legal. And HR. And the board chair. I understand. My attorney is Margaret Cook if your legal team needs to coordinate. Franklin. He paused. I'm sorry. I hired her. I approved her for senior curator. You hired the person she pretended to be. So did I. I left him staring at the packet and walked to my car. 3 texts from Fanny, escalating in anger. Perfect. Let her get emotional while I stayed strategic. I stopped at a hardware store. New locks, security cameras, and a safe that could be bolted to the floor. Then I called my contractor buddy. Paul, I need an emergency favor. Can you change out locks on my house in the next hour? Everything okay? Will be. I'll pay emergency rates. Be there in 20. While Paul worked, I installed the cameras. Front door, back door, driveway, and hallway. All streaming to my phone and backing up to the cloud. My phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Morrison? This is Robert Carlyle from Henley Creative Services. Sawyer's business partner. We've received concerning documentation about billing irregularities. I need to discuss this with you immediately. I don't know what you're talking about. Sir, we just got a courier package with invoices and analysis suggesting Sawyer has been inflating our billing to the museum. Your name is on the cover letter. I hadn't sent anything to them. Yet. But I played along. Then you should investigate. Check if he's been doing it to other clients too. Other clients? Oh God. If this is true, it'll destroy our company. Better to catch it now than during an audit. He hung up, panicked. Someone else had received my documentation. But who? My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Check your email. A friend. I opened my personal email. A new message, no sender name, subject line, Sawyer Henley full client list. Attached was a spreadsheet of every client Sawyer had worked with in 2 years. Museums, galleries, private collectors. Highlighted in yellow were 6 other clients with billing patterns matching the museum's inflated invoices. Someone was helping me. But who? Paul finished the locks. All done. Nobody's getting in without these. He handed me the new keys. The school day was ending. I picked up both kids, surprising them. Dad never picks us up, Molly said to her brother. New arrangement, I said. How about we get ice cream? We sat at their favorite place, the one Fanny always said was too expensive for a random Thursday. I watched them laugh over Sundays and thought about those plane tickets. She was going to take them. Just disappear one day while I was at work. Dad, your phone's been buzzing nonstop, my son noted. 17 texts from Fanny. Escalating from confusion to fury. The last one, change the locks? Really? I'm coming over right now with the police if I have to. I texted back, be home by 6. Bring your boyfriend. We have things to discuss. Who keeps texting? Molly asked. Work stuff. Hey, wanna help me with something at home? I'm installing new security cameras. They loved the tech aspect, helped me adjust angles and test the motion sensors. It was 5:45 when we finished. Dad, my son said quietly, Mom's in the driveway. I looked at the camera feed on my phone. Fanny's car. But she wasn't alone. Sawyer was with her. And behind them, another car I recognized. A police cruiser. She'd actually called the police. Kids, go to your rooms. Homework time. They disappeared upstairs without argument. They knew something was happening. I watched the camera feed as Fanny marched to the front door. Inserted her key. The look of confusion when it wouldn't turn. She tried again. Then knocked. Then pounded. Franklin. Open this door right now. The officer approached behind her, looking uncomfortable. Young guy, maybe late 20s. I opened the door but stood firmly in the doorway. Officer. How can I help you? Sir, this woman says she's been illegally locked out of her residence. She left voluntarily last night to go on a date with that man, I pointed to Sawyer, and informed me she was staying elsewhere. I secured my home. She's welcome to arrange a time to collect her belongings. This is my house too. Fanny's face was red. Ma'am, the officer said, did you leave voluntarily? For one night. And did you tell your husband you were staying elsewhere? That doesn't mean he can lock me out. The officer looked tired. Ma'am, if you left voluntarily and informed him you were staying elsewhere, he has the right to secure the residence. This is a civil matter. Civil matter? I live here. A car pulled up behind the police cruiser. A woman got out carrying a manila envelope. Margaret's process server. Perfect timing. She walked up to the group. Fanny Morrison? What? Yes? You've been served. She handed Fanny the envelope, took a photo of the handoff, and left. Fanny tore it open. Her face went from red to white as she read. Emergency custody order? Financial freeze? What the hell is this, Franklin? The officer stepped back, clearly wanting no part of whatever was in that envelope. Like I said, civil matter. You folks need to work this out through attorneys. This is insane. Fanny waved the papers at me. You can't freeze our accounts. You can't take the kids. Ma'am, the officer said, I'm going to need you to calm down. Calm down? My husband is stealing my children. Actually, I said, keeping my voice level, you bought one-way tickets to Phoenix with them. For next month. Without telling me. Sawyer's face went white. Even he hadn't known about the kids. How did you? That was just planning? Like the apartment near Riverside? Like the consultation with 3 different divorce attorneys? Like the embezzlement from the museum? The officer's eyebrows went up. Sir, if you're alleging criminal activity, already reported to the proper authorities. The museum's director of cultural affairs has the documentation. As does my attorney. Fanny turned to Sawyer. You said he wouldn't find out until we were gone. And there it was. Admission in front of a police officer. Ma'am, sir, the officer addressed Sawyer, I think you both need to leave now. Work this out through legal channels. I want my clothes, Fanny demanded. My jewelry. My things. Schedule it through your attorney, I said. The emergency order is clear. No removal of assets from the marital home until the court hearing. When is the hearing? Monday. 9 a.m. Family court. Your attorney can get the details from mine. She stood there shaking. Not from sadness. From rage at losing control. You be word. You complete be word. I gave you 18 years. No, you took 18 years. While planning your exit and stealing money to fund it. The officer moved between us. That's enough. Ma'am, you need to leave. Now. Sawyer pulled at her arm. Come on, Fanny. We'll handle this. We? You don't even have a real job. You're a freelance nothing living off inflated invoices. So she knew. She knew exactly what they'd been doing. They left, Fanny screaming at Sawyer in the car. The officer gave me a long look. You recording all this? He nodded at the security camera. Every second. Smart man. Good luck. After he left, I went inside and hugged my kids, who were definitely not doing homework but sitting at the top of the stairs. Mom's really mad, Molly said in a small voice. Yeah, she is. Are we getting divorced? My son asked. Yes. Because of that guy with her? That's part of it. They came downstairs and we sat in the living room. The same room where Fanny and I had opened Christmas presents 3 months ago. Where we'd hosted dinner parties. Where we'd planned our life. Listen, I said. Adult relationships are complicated. Your mom made some choices that mean we can't be married anymore. But that's between us. She's still your mom. She was going to take us to Phoenix, my son said. It wasn't a question. How did you know that? She kept asking weird questions about how we'd feel about moving. About starting fresh somewhere new. Said Phoenix had great schools. When? Last few weeks. We both told her we didn't want to move. My daughter nodded. She got mad when I said I wouldn't leave my dance team. They knew. Kids always know more than we think. My phone rang. Leon Rodriguez. Franklin, I need you to know what's happening. We've placed Fanny on administrative leave pending investigation. We've also terminated our contract with Henley Creative Services. Our legal team wants to meet with your attorney tomorrow. Understood. There's more. We audited the last 2 years. This goes deeper than 6 months. We're looking at potential criminal charges. 2 years. The affair in Austin was 3 years ago. She'd been stealing for 2. I'll have my attorney coordinate with yours, Franklin. I'm sorry. The board is discussing pressing charges. This is beyond internal discipline. After I hung up, I ordered pizza, the kids' favorite, and we watched a movie. Normal Thursday night, except their mother was imploding across town and their lives were about to change forever. My phone lit up with messages. Not from Fanny. From her friends. Her sister. Her colleagues. Is it true? What did you do? Fanny says you locked her out? This is cruel, Franklin. I didn't respond to any of them. Let them get her version first. The truth would come out in court. At 10, after the kids were in bed, I sat in my office reviewing everything. The security footage of her meltdown. The documentation. The emails. A notification popped up, someone was accessing our joint account online. I watched in real time as Fanny tried to transfer money. Denied. Tried to pay her credit card. Denied. Tried to access the kids' college funds. Account not found, because it no longer existed in a form she could touch. My phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Morrison? This is Harold Cook from the FBI's White Collar Crime Division. FBI? We received a referral from the City Museum regarding potential wire fraud and embezzlement. I understand you have documentation? Yes. My attorney has everything. We'll need to interview you. Can you come to our field office tomorrow afternoon? The FBI is involved? When federal grants are potentially misused, yes. The museum receives federal funding. If any of that money was diverted, it's our jurisdiction. Federal. This was now federal. I'll be there. I hung up and sat in the dark. I'd wanted to protect my kids and divorce my cheating wife. Now she was facing potential federal charges. Another call. This time, a number I recognized. Robert Carlyle, Sawyer's business partner. Franklin, I'm sorry to call so late. We've been going through our books. Sawyer's been inflating invoices to 6 other clients. We're looking at $200,000 in fraudulent billing over 2 years. You need to report it. We already have. We also dissolved the partnership. He's done. His reputation, his business, everything. The arts community is small. Word's already spreading. I didn't send you that documentation today. No, someone else did. Someone who wanted us to find this. Any idea who? None. But I was starting to suspect. Someone had been helping me all day. Someone with access to Sawyer's client list. Someone who knew about the fraud before I did. After Carlyle hung up, I checked my email. Another anonymous message. Check her cloud storage. Password is probably your anniversary date backwards. I tried it. It worked. Her cloud was a goldmine. Not just personal files but work documents she shouldn't have had at home. Confidential donor lists. Internal budget documents. And a folder labeled Phoenix Plans. Inside, job applications to 3 Phoenix museums, all listing Sawyer as a reference. Apartment applications with both their names. School enrollment forms for the kids with forged signature lines for me. She'd been practicing my signature. And an email draft to her parents, dated tomorrow, Mom and Dad, by the time you read this, the kids and I will be starting our new life in Phoenix. Franklin became abusive and controlling. I had no choice but to leave secretly for our safety. Please wire $10,000 to this account to help us get established. We'll call when we're settled. Love, Fanny. She was going to accuse me of abuse. Take the kids. Take money from her parents. Disappear. I screenshotted everything, forwarded it to my attorney, and added it to my growing evidence file. My phone buzzed. A text from Fanny's mother. Franklin, what's going on? Fanny's calling us hysterical, saying she needs money for an attorney. She says you've stolen everything and won't let her see the children. I texted back, please don't send her money yet. Can we talk tomorrow? There's more to this story. She says you've been abusive. That she's scared. I have security footage from tonight showing otherwise. And documentation of her plans to take the kids to Phoenix without my knowledge. Plus evidence of embezzlement from her employer. Please, just wait until we can talk. No response for 5 minutes. Then, Harold and I will drive up tomorrow. We'll be there by noon. We want the truth. Harold, Fanny's father. Retired state prosecutor. This was about to get interesting. Another text, this time from Fanny, my parents are coming tomorrow. You better let me in the house. I didn't respond. Then another, Sawyer left me. You destroyed everything. Are you happy? Still didn't respond. A third, the museum fired me. Fired. 15 years of my life gone. So it was official. Leon had moved fast. A fourth, I know you're reading these. You're probably enjoying this. Watching me lose everything. A fifth, the FBI? Really? You called the FBI on me? I hadn't, but I didn't correct her. Finally, at midnight, I still have cards you don't know about. Accounts you never found. You think you've won but you have no idea what I'm capable of. See you in court. I sat back and considered her threat. Cards I didn't know about. Accounts I hadn't found. Then my phone rang. Another unknown number. Don't answer any calls from emergency services tonight, a woman's voice said. She's going to call in a welfare check, claim you're threatening self-harm with the kids in the house. It's a common tactic to get you removed from the home. Who is this? Someone who's been where you are. Check your front door camera in about 10 minutes. The line went dead. I waited, watching the camera feed. Sure enough, 9 minutes later, 2 police cars pulled up. But instead of coming to the door, they sat there. Then one officer got out and made a phone call. 5 minutes later, they left. My phone rang immediately. The same unknown woman. The officers know your wife is at a hotel downtown. They confirm the kids are safe through school emergency contacts. Welfare check denied. You're welcome. Who are you? Let's just say Sawyer has a pattern. And some of us compare notes. The line went dead again. Sawyer's ex. Or one of them. My anonymous helper. I was about to go to bed when one last text came through. Not from Fanny or her allies or my mysterious helper. From my son, Dad, I know you're awake. Mom just tried to call me 20 times. I didn't answer. Molly's crying though. Can you check on her? I found my daughter curled up in her bed, phone in hand, tears streaming. Mom says you're trying to take us away forever. That we'll never see her again. I held her while she cried, this 13-year-old caught in her mother's desperate manipulation. That's not true, sweetheart. You'll see her. But right now, some adult things need to be sorted out first. Is she really moving to Phoenix? She was planning to. Without asking us? Yes. She pulled back and looked at me. That's kidnapping, isn't it? Even my 13-year-old understood what her mother had planned. I tucked Molly back into bed after she finally stopped crying. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's Friday. One more day of school than the weekend. Is Mom going to be there? At school? No. The court order prevents that until Monday's hearing. She nodded, relieved. I kissed her forehead and went back to my room, but sleep wasn't happening. At 2 a.m., I gave up and went to my office. More emails from the anonymous helper. This time with attachments. Screenshots of conversations between Sawyer and someone named Bethany from 2 years ago. Similar pattern, affair with a married woman, inflated invoices through her company, plans to relocate together. Then court documents. Bethany's divorce filing, citing financial fraud. Criminal charges filed. Sawyer had walked away clean while Bethany lost everything. The pattern was clear. Fanny wasn't his first mark. I forwarded everything to Margaret Cook with a note. Sawyer Henley has done this before. Pattern of behavior. She responded immediately despite the hour. This changes everything. Serial fraud. Call me at 7 a.m. Dawn came without sleep. I made coffee and started breakfast as the kids came down. Normal Friday except for the weight in the air. Dad, people are going to know at school, my son said. Maybe. Probably. You okay with that? Yeah. Becca's been through it. She'll help. The Divorced Kid Network. They'd support each other. After dropping them at school, I drove home to find Fanny's parents' car in my driveway. They'd driven through the night. Harold and Grace Morrison. Married 46 years. Harold had been a state prosecutor, retired 5 years ago. Grace, a retired teacher. Good people who'd raised what I thought was a good daughter. Franklin. Harold's handshake was firm but his eyes were tired. We need to talk. I let them in, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table where their daughter had announced her date 2 nights ago. Show us everything, Grace said. I started from the beginning. The announcement. The email drafts. The financial records. The fraud. The Phoenix plan. The plane tickets with the kids' names. Harold reviewed everything with prosecutorial precision. Grace went pale when she saw the draft email Fanny had written asking them for money, claiming abuse. She was going to lie to us, Grace whispered. Say you were abusive to get money. It gets worse, I said, then showed them the FBI contact, the museum's termination, Sawyer's history. Harold set down the papers. Franklin, I prosecuted cases for 30 years. This is comprehensive. She's looking at federal charges. I didn't want this. I just wanted to protect the kids. You did. But she committed federal crimes. That's on her, not you. Grace was crying silently. Where did we go wrong? We didn't raise her to be this person. My phone rang. Leon Rodriguez. Franklin, I'm sorry to bother you but we need to know, did Fanny have any museum files at home? Our IT audit shows she downloaded extensive donor information yesterday morning. Yesterday morning. After she'd been served. After she knew she was caught. Let me check her cloud storage. I pulled it up on my laptop while Harold and Grace watched. There it was. A folder uploaded yesterday at 11 a.m. Insurance policy. Inside, complete donor lists with personal information, private contact details for board members, internal security codes, and something labeled leverage. I opened leverage. Screenshots of emails between board members discussing questionable expense reports, not criminal but embarrassing. Personal information about major donors that shouldn't exist in museum files. And photos from museum galas showing married board members in compromising positions with people who weren't their spouses. She was building blackmail material, Harold said quietly. Leon, you need to have IT lock everything down now. She has donor lists and sensitive information. I'm sending you screenshots. Jesus Christ. This is criminal. She's trying to extort the museum? Looks like she was preparing to. After I hung up, Harold stood. We need to see our daughter. She's at the Marriott downtown. Room 412. I'd tracked her credit card charges. How do you? Never mind. Harold looked at his wife. Grace, we raised a criminal. They left, and I sat alone in my kitchen, staring at the evidence of my wife's complete moral collapse. She'd gone from affair to fraud to attempted kidnapping to blackmail in less than 48 hours. My phone rang. Margaret Cook. The FBI wants to meet this afternoon. Also, Fanny hired Martin Kessler. Kessler? The attorney who'd gotten a city councilman off embezzlement charges on a technicality. She found money for him? Her parents probably. Speaking of which, I've filed additional motions based on the new evidence. Attempted extortion, conspiracy to commit kidnapping, and theft of proprietary data. The judge moved our hearing to Monday morning first thing. This is now high priority. The FBI meeting was surreal. 2 agents in a conference room, recording everything. They showed me transactions I hadn't found, federal grant money diverted to Sawyer's accounts. Wire fraud across state lines. They already had enough to prosecute. Mr. Morrison, we appreciate your cooperation. To be clear, you're not under investigation. Your financial records show no involvement or benefit from the fraud. What happens to her? If convicted? Federal crime, she's looking at 3 to 7 years minimum. More if the extortion attempt is included. Prison. My children's mother might go to prison. When I got home, my son was on the porch. School had let out early for a teacher's workday I'd forgotten about. Mom's here, he said quietly. In the driveway. She's been there an hour. Grandma and Grandpa are with her. I looked. Fanny's car, her parents' car beside it. She was in the driver's seat, her parents apparently talking to her through the window. I walked over. Harold saw me first. She wants to talk to you, he said. Alone. The restraining order doesn't prevent communication about the children if both parties agree, Harold, the former prosecutor, said. We'll witness that you're agreeing. I nodded. Her parents walked to their car. I got in Fanny's passenger seat. She looked destroyed. Hair unwashed, makeup smeared, wearing the same clothes from last night. My parents won't pay for Kessler, she said. They saw everything. They think I should plead guilty. You should. I'll lose everything. You already have. She turned to me, and for a second, I saw the woman I'd married. Young, brilliant, passionate about art and life. How did we get here, Franklin? You tell me. When did I become not enough? You were always enough. That was the problem. You were stable and good and boring. God, so boring. Every day the same. Work, home, dinner, bed. I was dying inside. So you had an affair in Austin 3 years ago. Her face went white. How? Your email drafts. You never deleted them. That meant nothing. And then you started stealing 2 years ago. I wasn't, it was just adjusting numbers. And then Sawyer. And planning to take our kids. I was going to tell you. When? After you were in Phoenix? After you'd accused me of abuse to your parents? She started crying. Ugly, genuine sobs. I don't know who I became. I don't recognize myself. Franklin, please. Please. I'm begging you. Don't let them prosecute me. The kids need a mother. The kids need a mother who doesn't lie to them. Who doesn't steal. Who doesn't try to kidnap them. I'll go to therapy. I'll get help. I'll sign whatever you want. Full custody. No alimony. Just please don't let me go to prison. That's not my choice. You committed federal crimes. You could tell them you were wrong. That it was a misunderstanding. Lie for you? Like you were going to lie about me? She grabbed my hand. First time she'd touched me in months. Franklin, I know you hate me. But remember when we were happy? Remember when we loved each other? That has to count for something. It does. It's why I'm going to make sure our kids are okay. It's why I'm not going to poison them against you. But I'm not going to lie for you. There's something else, she said quietly. Something you don't know. What? Austin wasn't the first. I pulled my hand away. What? There was someone before Austin. 4 years ago. And someone before that. 5 years ago. 5 years ago. When Molly was 8. When we'd been in marriage counseling because she'd been disconnected. How many? Does it matter? How many, Fanny? 6. Maybe 7. I don't know. They blurred together. 7 affairs in 5 years. I've been living a complete lie. Why stay married? Because you were safe. Because you were the good father, the stable income, the nice house. Because leaving was complicated and staying was easy. And now? Now I've destroyed everything. Sawyer won't even answer my calls. My job is gone. My parents look at me like I'm a stranger. The kids hate me. They don't hate you. They're hurt and confused. Can I see them? Just for a minute? Supervised, through the window, anything? Monday. At the hearing. She nodded, defeated. Franklin, what I said in that text last night about having cards you don't know about. The blackmail material on museum board members. Her face fell. You found that too. Your cloud storage. And the FBI has it now, so don't even think about using it. I wasn't going to blackmail anyone. I was just desperate. Scared. I thought if I had leverage. You'd what? Force them to drop charges? That's extortion, Fanny. Another federal crime. She was quiet for a long moment. You know what the really pathetic part is? I'm sitting here, my life in ruins, and all I can think about is that you're finally interesting. This Franklin, the one who destroyed me so efficiently, where was this passion during our marriage? It was there. You just weren't looking. I got out of the car. Harold and Grace were standing by theirs, looking older than when they'd arrived this morning. She needs an attorney, I told them. But not Kessler. Someone who'll encourage her to take a plea deal. The evidence is overwhelming. Harold nodded. We'll handle it. Franklin. We're sorry. We had no idea who she'd become. Neither did I. They drove away with Fanny following. I went inside to find my kids in the living room. Was that Mom? Molly asked. Yes. Is she okay? She's dealing with consequences. Dad, my son said, we need to tell you something. About Mom. They exchanged looks. We knew about some of it, Molly said. Not the stealing or Phoenix. But other things. What things? The men, my son said quietly. We knew there were other men. My kids sat across from me in our living room, and I realized I'd been protecting them from something they'd already seen. How long have you known? I asked. A couple years, my son said. Remember when Mom started going to those evening art classes? I remembered. Tuesday and Thursday nights, she'd said. Personal enrichment. There weren't any art classes, Molly said quietly. We saw her at Starbucks with a man one night when we were with Aunt Stephanie. Mom didn't see us. Why didn't you tell me? They exchanged another look. We didn't know how, my son said. And you seemed happy not knowing. We figured if you wanted to know, you'd figure it out. Kids protecting their parent from truth. I'd failed them without even knowing it. Also, Molly added, we heard you and Mom arguing once. About Austin. You said something about forgiveness and moving forward. We thought you knew and were dealing with it. That argument. 3 years ago. I'd confronted her about being distant after her Austin trip, but I hadn't known about the affair then. She'd twisted it into me being paranoid and unsupportive. We'd gone to counseling. I'd apologized for doubting her. I'm sorry you had to carry that, I told them. We're sorry we didn't tell you, my son said. No. That wasn't your job. None of this was your job. We talked for 2 hours. They told me about other things they'd noticed. Mom's secret credit card statements they'd seen in her purse. Calls she'd taken in the garage. The way she'd been redecorating, saying she wanted a fresh start. They were relieved it was over. Actually relieved. The weekend passed in a blur of legal preparation. Margaret Cook came to the house Saturday with 3 assistants, turning my dining room into a war room. The FBI is formally charging her Tuesday if she doesn't take a plea Monday, she said. Her attorney, she fired Kessler and hired someone cheaper, is pushing for a deal. What kind of deal? Guilty plea to embezzlement, 2 years probation, restitution to the museum. They dropped the federal charges. No jail time? Unlikely unless she violates probation. But Franklin, she'll never work in the arts again. She'll be lucky to get retail work with a felony conviction. Sunday night, the kids and I had dinner with Harold and Grace. They looked exhausted. She's staying with us, Grace said. Sleeping in her childhood room. It's like having a stranger in the house. The attorney says if she takes the plea tomorrow, she might avoid prison, Harold added. We're pushing her to take it. Will she? Who knows? She keeps saying Franklin orchestrated all of this. That you set her up. By documenting her crimes? In her mind, you should have just let her go. Let her take the kids and start over. That was never going to happen. Harold nodded. We know. We told her that. Franklin, we need to ask, will you let her have supervised visitation if the court allows? I looked at my kids. They'd been quiet through dinner. What do you two think? She's still our mom, Molly said carefully. Even if she made bad choices. Supervised is fine, my son added. But not alone. Not until she gets help. Then that's what we'll ask for, I said. Monday morning. Family court. Fanny looked small in her conservative suit, the one she wore to museum board meetings. Her attorney, a tired-looking man named Carl Brennan, whispered urgently to her. Margaret Cook laid out our case with surgical precision. The affairs, documented. The financial fraud, proven. The attempted parental kidnapping, undeniable. The extortion material, submitted as evidence. When Brennan tried to argue I'd been controlling and abusive, Margaret produced the security footage. Fanny calmly announcing her date. Me asking her to reconsider. Her leaving with a smile. Your Honor, Margaret said, Mr. Morrison's response to his wife's betrayal was to protect his children's assets and document crimes. That's not abuse. That's responsible parenting. The judge, a woman named Pat Keller who looked like she'd seen everything, reviewed the evidence. Mrs. Morrison, do you have anything to say? Fanny stood. Your Honor, I made mistakes. But I'm a good mother. My children need me. Your children need a mother who doesn't commit felonies or attempt to kidnap them across state lines, Judge Keller responded. I'm granting Mr. Morrison's emergency motions in full. Temporary sole custody to Mr. Morrison. Supervised visitation for Mrs. Morrison, pending completion of therapy and compliance with criminal proceedings. All marital assets frozen except for basic living expenses. Your Honor, Brennan started. I'm not finished. Mrs. Morrison, you're ordered to return all museum property and data immediately. Any attempt to use or disseminate confidential information will result in additional charges. Furthermore, you're restricted from leaving the state pending resolution of criminal charges. Fanny collapsed into her chair. The formal divorce proceedings will be expedited given the criminal matters. Mr. Morrison, are you seeking alimony given the disparity that will exist in earning potential? I stood. No, Your Honor. I want a clean break. The house, primary custody, and protection of the children's assets. She can have her personal belongings and her car. Very generous, considering. So ordered. We'll reconvene in 30 days for final disposition. As we left the courtroom, Fanny grabbed my arm. You could have destroyed me completely. Why didn't you? Because you're still their mother. Destroying you completely would hurt them. Franklin. What I said about you being boring. I was wrong. I was just too selfish to see who you really were. Yeah, well. Too late now. Harold and Grace were waiting in the hallway with my kids. Supervised visit, right there in the courthouse hallway. 10 minutes of awkward conversation while a social worker watched. I'm sorry, Fanny told them. I'm going to get help. I'm going to be better. Okay, Mom, my son said, but he didn't hug her. Molly did, briefly. I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. Both of you. Then it was over. Fanny left with her parents. My kids and I went home. Tuesday, she took the plea deal. Guilty to embezzlement. 2 years probation. $77,000 in restitution. Felony on her record forever. Sawyer fled to Arizona anyway, his reputation destroyed. His business partner sent me a final email, they'd recovered some money, were paying back defrauded clients. Sawyer would never work in the industry again. The museum quietly settled to avoid publicity. They implemented new oversight procedures. Leon called to tell me they'd named the restored gallery after a different donor, one who hadn't been married to a thief. The divorce was final in 60 days. Uncontested after the criminal plea. I got the house, the kids, and freedom from someone who'd been a stranger living in my home. 6 months later, I stood in the restored Paramount Theater, examining original crown molding we'd uncovered behind decades of renovations. My phone buzzed, a text from my son with a photo of his acceptance letter to a summer engineering program. Another from Molly about her dance recital next week. Mr. Morrison? My assistant called out. The City Preservation Committee is here for the walkthrough. Be right there. As I turned to go, my phone buzzed again. A message from Fanny. We'd had minimal contact, just logistics about the kids' supervised visits. Franklin, the kids told me about the Paramount reopening. I know I have no right to ask, but I wanted you to know I'm proud of what you've accomplished. You brought something beautiful back to life. I only knew how to destroy things. I'm in therapy now, real therapy. Learning why I did what I did. Maybe someday I'll be someone worth knowing again. Give my love to the kids. I read it twice, then deleted it without responding. The committee was waiting. 5 members, including 2 new additions who joined after the previous members resigned in a museum-related scandal nobody talked about anymore. Shall we look at the restoration work? I asked. We walked through the theater, every detail meticulously restored. Original paintings revealed under layers of cheap paint. Hand-carved details preserved and highlighted. The bones of something beautiful that had been hidden under years of bad decisions and quick fixes. It's magnificent, the committee chair said. How did you know all this was underneath? You learn to see past the damage, I said. Focus on the foundation. If that's solid, you can rebuild anything. And if the foundation is rotten? Then you tear it down and start over. My phone rang. An unknown number, but I recognized the area code. Phoenix. I let it go to voicemail. The committee approved the restoration. The theater would reopen next month with a gala celebration. My biggest project, completed while my personal life underwent its own demolition and rebuild. That evening, I made dinner for my kids. Real dinner, not takeout. We talked about school, friends, plans for spring break. Normal stuff. The new normal. "Dad," Molly said, "are you happy?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "Yeah, I am." "Good," she said. "You deserve to be." My son added, "Mom texted us. She said she's getting help. Real help this time." "That's good." "Do you think she'll ever be normal again?" "I don't know. But that's her journey, not ours." After they went to bed, I sat in my office, looking at the Paramount plans one last time. Tomorrow we'd start on a new project, an old courthouse that needed structural reinforcement. I thought about Fanny's text. About rebuilding versus starting over. About foundations and what we choose to preserve. Then I closed the plans, turned off the lights, and went to bed in my quiet house. No drama. No lies. No secret email drafts or hidden credit cards. Just peace. And that foundation? Solid as stone. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.